recipe you've all been asking for, Chinese dumplings. Now what you'll need is a quarter to half of a Chinese cabbage, 4 shallots, this is for the filling, some pork mince, some garlic, ginger, chicken stock, sesame oil, salt, brown sugar, and for the sauce you will also need some rice wine vinegar and soy sauce. Alright, so we're just going to cut the cabbage up nice and fine. I like to do mine super fine because I don't like to know that I'm eating cabbage. And we're going to set it aside in a colander because what happens is there's actually a lot of excess moisture in the cabbage that you don't particularly want in there. We're going to set it aside after chopping it up nice and thin, and then once we've finished making the rest of the dumpling mixture, we'll get rid of some of, we'll squeeze out that excess moisture. The cabbage, I'm just going to add a little bit of salt to it, and we're going to set that aside for the moment. Now I'm going to chop up the spring onions nice and fine. I've added 500 grams of pork mince into the thing. Now we're going to add 4 chopped up spring onions. Chop them up nice and fine so they're not too chunky. Then, get rid of that. We need to add a teaspoon of, a teaspoon of ginger. Add a teaspoon of that. About 3 cloves of garlic. I love garlic, so I just, it's more like 3 teaspoons for me. I love garlic though. Oh, I don't know where it came from. What else? We need 1.5 teaspoons of brown sugar. I'm just gonna get that off. 1.5 teaspoons of brown sugar. It did say light brown sugar, but I've just been using normal brown sugar. 1, and it said 2 teaspoons. Wait, hang on, let me double check. 2 teaspoons of sesame oil. Gives it a bit of flavour too. 1, 2. 2 teaspoons of salt. This is not coming out as fast as I thought. 1 and 2. And then 2 tablespoons of chicken broth. Oh, let's put it in. Or chicken stock. So I have some already measured out here. I think that's everything that needs to go into the filling mixture except for the cabbage. Now we're going to come back to the cabbage. Now, they do say that you can use like a calico cloth to strain the excess moisture out. I haven't got a calico cloth, so I've literally just been squeezing, and maybe it's not sat here for long enough because you can usually squeeze it. I don't know, maybe it needs to sit a little longer. No, we'll have to go back to that. So I'm not going to do that just yet. I'll wait a little bit longer and I should be able to squeeze that excess moisture out. Okay, back to it. I've given it a little bit longer, and so all I do is get a handful, and can you see that? See that moisture coming out? That's just 1 handful. If you do it throughout the entire batch, it ends up being a lot of excess moisture, and it's too much for the filling mixture. So we then pop that in there. What's my cat doing? Do that until you've done it to all of your cabbage. Alright, so we've currently got everything in there. Now I like to use my hands. You can try using a spoon or whatever, but I feel like it gets in easier. Give your mixture a really good mix with those hands. And then we start preparing to put them into our wrappers, which I didn't show you at the beginning. You need to use gyoza wrappers, not wonton wrappers, and you will find them in the supermarket. In Woolies, you can find them up near like the fresh lasagna sheets and the tortellini and stuff. So there's about 30 wrappers in a packet. I usually get 3 wrappers just to be safe, because you only put the tiniest bit of meat in these, and so the filling goes a long way. I have made a few batches of these now. The first batch I think made 50 dumplings, and since then I've made them, and I think last time I made about 70 to 75. So there's 30 wrappers in a pack, so 3 packs will be great. Okay, now back to it. I normally put down some baking paper on the bench, so we're going to be wrapping these now. They can get a bit sticky, you don't want them to get wet. So these are the gyoza wrappers. So you'll also need a cup with some water in it. And I'll show you why in a minute. Maybe I should put that back, and then you might be able to see them. I usually lay out a few, so I might do 6 to 9 at a time on my baking paper. And then we're going to put a little bit of water just around the edges of the wrapper. You can, on the video I watched, they used a spoon, but I just use my fingers. It's just easier. Set them aside. So I've got a cup of water here. So I just dip my fingers in and go around. Maybe I can pick up the phone and show you. I can't see what I'm actually filming here. Actually, you know what? All right, I'm going to show you this way. All right, I'll move that back. I've just gone and pull. The wrappers are like a pastry, and they do get a little sticky. You don't want to put too much water on it, just a little bit, so that when we wrap them, they will sort of stick together rather than not stick, I guess. So just do that, but just around the outside of each wrapper, just a tiny bit. If you put too much water on there, they get really sticky, and they're hard to, try and keep together. So now we're just going to use a teaspoon to put little bits in the middle. You don't want to overfill them, or they will burst when you're cooking them and look like a dog's breakfast. But see, that's too much. It's because I'm using one hand. Right. So you only need about that much on each one. Okay, and now I'll show you how to wrap them. Let me just pick one up. So you need to fold it in half and pinch it in the middle. And then we're going to pleat them. 1, 2, 3, and then, I don't know if you can see, put the end in, give it a squeeze. Shit, I'm trying to do it so you can actually see. Where are we here? 1, 2, 3, put the end in, give it a squeeze. Done. So do one more. Pinch it in the middle. I'm going to pleat it. 1, 2, 3. Ends in, give it a squeeze. So you're going to have to do this at least 50 times. They do say you can freeze these. I tried freezing them like before cooking them, and then later when I went to cook them, they weren't so good because the pastry stuff went all gooey and yuck. They would be fine if you actually cooked them first though, and then froze them. But yeah. All right, so now for the cooking of these guys. I'm gonna pour some oil into a pan. Whoops, that's possibly even a little too much. Just do that. Let that heat for a second. I've been busy. I haven't even made them all yet. I have no idea how many are here, and I've still got some more to wrap. There's still a fair bit of filling, so I think it's gonna make a few more. So we'll let that get hot. I might turn that up a bit. Turn it on nice and hot to get the oil hot, but then I'm going to turn it back down so it doesn't end up burning. All right, I'm just going to do it now. All right, so I'm going to put a few in and pan fry them. I probably should have let that heat a bit more. Pan fry them for just a minute or two until they're golden brown on that side. Whoops. Fill the pan. All right, so these have been sizzling away for a minute or two and they are slightly golden brown. So I'm going to turn them all over in the pan. And then, oops. So you need a lid to your saucepan because we're going to essentially steam them the rest of the way. Hang on. Where did I put my lid? I think I've got it in the cupboard. Hold on 2 seconds. Here it is. So now you'll need about a 1/4 cup of water. Chuck it in. Lid on. And I actually just put the timer on for about 4 minutes. It said 3 to 4 minutes on the thing that I watched, but 4 minutes seems to be perfect. After the 4 minutes, you take that lid off. Probably let them go for another 30 seconds to a minute and they are completely ready. Okay, so our timer just went off. So they kind of steamed a bit now. And they will pretty much be ready now, I think. Oh yeah. And there you have Chinese dumplings and they are delish. For the sauce, I'm not going to bother doing a video for the sauce, but I've played around with a few different things. Heat up a little bit of oil. I don't like my sauce too oily, so I do minimal oil. Add a bit of garlic to it, and that heated oil will bring out the flavors of the garlic. Then add some soy sauce. Now, the other day when I did it, I think I did 3 tablespoons of soy sauce, 1.5 tablespoons of rice wine vinegar, and probably about 2 or 3 teaspoons of brown sugar as well, and it was divine. So yeah, give them a go. They're so good. I've made them probably 4 or 5 times since I got the recipe, and I didn't get the recipe that long ago. So yeah, you just keep doing them in batches. Keep the process going. I'll let you know how many it's made. I'm still in the process of making over here, and I've still got a fair bit of, I think I'm going to run out of wrappers. I think I actually need more wrappers. I don't know how many wrappers I had to begin with. But yeah, anyway, happy days.